Chaminuka ndimambo, aye ndimambo, aye ndimambo, shumba inogara yega musango. Hi guys, happy December. Welcome back. Guys, I'm back like Msana, but because of this new approach, I don't think I'll be able to post every day. I think I'll be skipping a day and a day and a day. Munongoziyo ma system yacho, mega mungoziyo ma system yacho. But guys, I just want to address a major issue before taenda mberi. Anditka. Musati manotora mafreezes mapopcorn machichichi ndokumbiro guys musazopote muchiti nhamba yanhingi ndokumbiro anobatsira ndokumbiro nhingi anobatsira andizive vanhu vanobatsira. This is solely for story time purposes. This needs kuti mozo yako inbox munhu anokubatsirai or anything. I've addressed that before and this is the final time I'm addressing it. I know every day we get new people anenge vachiuya, but guys, this is just strictly story times. Andika musazoti dzoso mashure mako yoma inbox unenge kutongori rude and what and you know the gist, man. So yeah guys, this is just a story times page, nothing more, nothing less. But with that being said, do not forget kuenda pa YouTube pangu guys, Tanata Marimira, endaiwo muno subscribe muonawo ma videos ipapo ndokumbirawo muchiona ma videos muchionawo ma adverts. It sponsors me and it helps an African girl's dream come true. Now chimanye mnotra ma freezes and what and if you're switching now to YouTube, go to YouTube. Let's get started guys. Ndofunga murungo no mondori banabe. I'm sure now you already know what we're talking about today. Chaminuka ndimambo. So yeah guys, get your history books out because kune manotes akawanda nasi. Manotes akawanda nasi to the point yekuti ndatora 2 mafreezes. Give me 2 master freezes. You know. So yeah, let's get started guys. It's story time. Nasi chitungisa marangariro mune zvakanaka veduwe. You know, before kana Lisa Aisha na Kisha vese vari chitungisa varubvisa chitungisa chiremerera, they used to be the one and only Chaminuka. Anditka. Now guys, Chaminuka was born in Chitungisa in the 1800s. Anditka. So kuchitungisa kwakutone uyerwa because of this guy. Not kuyereza in kuyera, but we'll talk about it more. Kwakuni chiremerera, exactly chiremerera because of this guy ani PASIPAMIRE TSURO. So Chaminuka, as we all know him, his name was PASIPAMIRE TSURO. Chaminuka is just a spirit yashikira paari. Murupa bata. Spirit yashikira paari nonzichi Chaminuka. Chaminuka, which means the one who sees far. Chaminuka was a rainmaker, rain stopper, prophet, seer, and many more. So yeah, let's get started. Mukunyatsotaura nyaya yedu yani yakazoita kuti azosvika pakuzonzi Chaminuka iye wedu watataura tikati anonzani PASIPAMIRE TSURO. And it was a very happy day when PASIPAMIRE TSURO was born, and there was just something about him that just showed one kuti this one, he's the one. You know, he's the one. A baby boy was born in Chitungisa. Bouncy baby boy, healthy baby boy. Now with time, PASIPAMIRE grew up. As he grew up, it got to a point yekuti akatanga kurwara. He was constantly sick. And then ndopa zvakazobatwa kuti no, mwana kurwara kwaari kuita uyu pane zviri kuda kusvika paari. Ndo pakazosvikira svikiro rinonzani Chaminuka panani pana PASIPAMIRE TSURO. So PASIPAMIRE ndiye Chaminuka. Anditka Chaminuka tingangoti izita rebasa because ndo svikiro raisvikira paari. And PASIPAMIRE is believed to be the first person akasvikirwa nemweya wani wa Chaminuka paari. Yeah, he was the first known person, to be honest. First known person to be known ane spirit yani ya Chaminuka yakasvikira paari. Now it happened in such a way yekuti Chaminuka, like I said, angangori extraordinary. Mukurwara kuya kwaita zvaiitikawo sekuti maocean birds angasingatombofanira kunge ari kuvicinity yavanogara kwavaigara aiwanikwa achingosvika pamba pavo and aita seanomuobea seanoita seisei. But it got to a point yekuti mukurwara kwaChaminuka, his head would be hot as fire, maziso achita kuflika kudai achisara nezvewhite kudai. So and it was just scary. It was exorcism type shit. Saka ndo pakazosvikira mweya waChaminuka, and PASIPAMIRE allowed himself to be used as the vessel yani ya Chaminuka, and his family obviously did the things that need to be done kuti agashirechi the spirit of Chaminuka imusevenzese. Zvinotaura kunzi he would see in the spiritual realm, he would see into the future as well. Ndosaka inzi seer, prophet, healer, and as well as a rainmaker, rain stopper. vanhu kana vachitoda mvura vaienda kuna Chaminuka ane pamuti paitoenda. Zvinototaurwa izvo kuti vanhu vainotaura nhuna dzavo kuvana vasikana vasina zvipomerwa vachiri vakachena, ndo vasikana vaituma, ndo vainoudzwa necommunity kuti toda chakati chichichi. Iye manje ndiaibva azoti okay, hapana kushata, vana vasikana ava ndo vaizoenda unotaura nhuna dziya pane specific miti yaishandiswa kuti vanhu vanotaura nhuna dzavo. Ndo zvinhu pazvaibva zvazoita sei zvazogadziriswa. Saka aibatsira kuti kunaye, aitobatsira kuti kumire futi kunaya. He would make cattle appear and disappear. He would look into the future. He would do prophecies. Tichatara some of the prophecies that Chaminuka did kumberi. This spirit of Chaminuka inonzi yanga ine simba zvekutodaro, because it's believed kuti the spirit of Chaminuka was directly tethered to Mwari himself. So aishandiswa nemweya mutsvene sokutaurwa kwazvinoitwa, and angari like, you know, chitop galis paningirikinapa chibaba when it comes to the issue yemhondoro chichichi, you know, zvekusvikirwa. That list yandakambokupa ema spirit mediums, he was up there because everything he got was directly from God. It was to an extent that people would come from afar. People would come from afar vachiuya kuna Chaminuka to pay respect, to seek guidance, to seek counseling. Aitobatsira vanhu zvekutodaro, vanhu vaibva kwakasiyana-siyana. Guys, it even got to an extent yekuti Lobengula, who was in Ndebele land, would travel to Chitungiza because he was so impressed by this guy. This guy was so impressive to the extent yekuti even mahunters vaiita zvekuhunta ma-white elephants chichichi vaienda kuna Chaminuka. Ma-white hunters vaienda kuna Chaminuka kumbira kuti vakwanise kuhunta ma-white elephants and whatnot, because guys, zvinotaura kunzi kare Chitungiza yanga yakaloketwa panhu pari very fertile, yanga iri very fertile zvekuti ma-animals anga aripo aiflourisha, everything was flourishing. So vanhu vaitozoita zvekuhunta nekuita sei vaitoenda ikoko. Vanhu vese vairemekedzwa at that time vaitoenda. Muri kuona varungu vaitoenda kunopani vachaminuka maivory machichichi tunhu twese taunenge wauya natwo vachita sei vachita pay respect, more like tribute in a way. Muri pabata. And even my blacks vaitoita futi izvozvo. Like I said, Lobengula, we are going to touch on Lobengula because guys, nyaya Lobengula ndichaitaura kumberi because he's very vital to this story yani Chaminuka. Those who know the story, they already know that he's a very vital figure, so I can't just talk about him in passing because adazonyatsotaura pake gata kunyatsosvika kumagumo kwenyaya muri pabata. So people, there is a famous hunter ainzi FC Selu. I'm not sure kanari the Selu who's named after that road here ku Zimbabwe nonzi Selu, I'm not sure, but vaitoenda vachinoita sei vachinokumbirira chibaba taiwa atinotoenda tinokumbirawo so ndo makoshera anga akaita anga akakosha to the extent that even vanhu vaishaya kuti chiko chamonyanyukosha paari, you understand, zvaitovabowa kutoti why are we giving such respect to such a person, but he commanded that respect. One thing you know about me, when I have the opportunity to brag, I will brag. So allow me to brag when it comes to Chaminuka because he's actually my relative, you know. You see this, the most beautiful animal in Zimbabwe. Of course, I'm going to say that because mtupo wangu. Avanonzi mofu arapa. And it maita mofu zienda netkaka. Vane mtuno ne mago. Vakapo wakadzi kunyika yese vanjanja. Chichichichichi. So yeah, vangori mofu. And originally, that whole territory, Anachitungiza Wewe, belonged to us, the Hera people. Chaminuka was also a mofu, so Wangarochi Muera. So that territory, yangeri kwa Vachaminuka, Chibababa, Chikwedo. He was also Sezuru, by the way. Yangeri Eva Hera, stretching to Mondoro and to the northwest Wedza Hills. That whole area was ours. Isuva Hera, Murpabata, Sagongoni, Utungi, Weshikachi, Kwese Kokuk. It just feels good. So yeah, I'm low-key related to Chaminuka. Yeah. Chaminuka was a man of peace. He was a man who was deeply feared and respected. Like I said, angani direct communication na Mwari murupabata. Saka angari munhu angane moyo wetsitsi, moyo werudo, angasina like any malicious behavior or any animosity in him. Sekutaura kwazvinoitwa. And it's also said kuti, like I said, aita zvekurapa, he would also help rain kuti itike or istope, and in that same breath, guys, he would also see things. Like I said, he was more of a prophet. He would see enemies before they came murupabata, and vanhu vaitoyo remekedzwa panguva yavaitenda kwaari kunosika advice and guidance from him. So the thing about this picture is pamba paigara even airidza mbira to the extent yekuti shiri dzaiuya dzoungana paanenge ari airidza music zvekuti paiungana even maaudience ake vanhu vanenge vachiningirina vanenge vachiteerera vaiitirwa maspells, like spells would be cast achiridza zvezvekuti vanhu maitosvika pakubudirwa achiridza mbira. That's how good he was muri babata. So that being said, pamba paigara chaminuka paigara pane guys ndadonherwa negodo saka randivhundutsa semunhu akatose pakamera. So zvakaitika ndezvekuti pamba paigara pane maanimals, masnakes, maantelope, shiri, ndo zvazvichinyorwa pandandichita sei pandandichiverenga zvaiuya pamba pake zvichimuteerera aicommanda respect from them, zvaingomurespecta. The most venomous snakes you can think of, mapython, machichichi anga ariko as well, mavenomous snakes nemapython whatever mashato aya anga ariko murubabata. So he was that respected murupabata, and it happened in a way when he died, because achazofa kumberi, obviously that's why we're talking about him. Zvakaitika sekuti hanzi maanimals akamboita a period of mourning. They were just silent, not moving or anything. Maanimals angangori silent nekushaya kwaningirikini kwa Chaminuka. If y'all still remember, tichikura taigara tichinzi kune vasina mabvi chichikutaurwa varungu. It was actually Chaminuka who said that. He foresaw these things, he foretold these things before mabhunu atombouya, the European settlers. Akataura akati kune vachauya vachada kutora nyika ino, vapambe pfumi, vachapambe pfuma nyika ino, and vapambe pfuma nyika ino vachakanganisa the African way of doing things. They will start dissing maningirikini edu, the customs of the things we do, like religion wise and everything that we do. And they will come with firearms, GGG. So this is one of the things I found. I think this was from Dr. Monde. Yakanzi Chaminuka foretold of the coming of kneeless people, vasina mavi, meaning white people, into the country in Zimbabwe. He foresaw these things before they happened. And when they came, vachudwa about his stuff, they felt like he was a threat, and they at some point ordered his arrest because they felt like he was a threat to their agenda. Not only did Chaminuka prophesy about the coming of the white settlers, and animangwa prophecies akaita. Mind you, he died in 1883, but before he died, aka prophesy kuti 1896, if I'm not mistaken, kuchaitika drought yakaipisisa mu Zimbabwe. Those who know the history, they know kuti pane drought yakaipisisa yakamboitika mu Zimbabwe muna 1896 yekuti gorere mashu, paipa zvechinzi gorere mashu. Pakaitika nyeyoyo yemashu, and even kettles airamba achingendwa nemapest achingofa, as in mombe dzichingofa chichichichichi. So it was so bad, but Chaminuka had already prophesied about that. He had foretold, if we can put it that way. He had also foretold about the downfall of Lobengula and the coming of the European pioneer team. But I just thought I should read something to you guys. I want you guys to know this person died in 1883, but these are the things he had to say before varungu vacho vatombouya murubabata vachitotangisisa kuuya. These are the things that he was saying. He continued, and kuratidza pepa pakanzi vasina mabvi, regaitise futi vasina mabvi. In the spirit of our vasina mabvi, he continued to say, these kneeless people will rule the land with an iron fist and will not respect our customs. Their knowledge will pour over the people and entice the young to abandon our traditions, which will consequently grieve the ancestors. The ancestors will in turn give our children up to the tyranny of the strangers. In suffering shall their strength lie, yet the land shall remain the everlasting legacy of the Ndebele and not of the strangers within their domain. The Ndebele being Ivo Vananingirikini, Ana Chaminuka, and the rest of the people. All right, and let me go pangwe pacho. He proceeded to say, all people of Chitungwiza, like all, not all people of Chitungwiza, fearful of your lives and for those of your children, understand, I repeat, that there shall come from the sea a race of people without knees, who are stronger than the tyrant in Ndebele. At this time, the Ndebele were very, very powerful. Guys, bear in mind, Kuti, Shaka, from South Africa. He invented the asegai. You know that asegai takadzidziswa ku history. Back in the day they had that long spear to know. So Shaka invented the asegai yotunota munova to say it was very compact and manageable. So he was a very great military leader, Ushaka, and because of that tyranny yanga kuita chichichi, you need to remember the Abom Zilikazi and the likes ndo vakazomova kuenda Drakensberg, vakazomova vakazopinda ku Zimbabwe, vakazopinda kuna Ndebele land. So you need to remember these are the people who had a person like Shaka who trained their ancestors. So the Ndebele were very, very powerful when it comes to fight. That's why most of the Shona land was taken by them that easy, because they were that powerful. So he was telling them, without knees, who are stronger, thank you, Mama, than the tyrant Ndebele, they will subdue your enemies and will pursue Lobengula to shameful death. He even foretold the downfall of Lobengula and Timogona. Then these kneeless people will build white houses on the land. They will bring them a mighty boulder, such as has never been seen before. It will roll with such force that no one will be able to stand before it or divert it from its course. I just thought it's important to directly what was said about what he was prophesying Chaminuka. It's easy for me to say that like I was saying, but I just thought I should just say it like this. And these are the things that were prophesied by the great Chaminuka. Bye-bye, by the great Chaminuka. It goes on, guys, because we need to remember one last thing what we need to remember. That Chaminuka without mentioning Lobengula. There is also one person we cannot never mention Chaminuka. Of course, how can you talk about Chaminuka without talking about Charwe Neanda Nyakaskana? He had a prophecy for Charwe, aka Mbia Nehanda. He said, looking at his sister Nehanda, Chaminuka said, as for you, my sister, your fate is not different from mine. All who wear the veil that the ancestors have been pleased to bestow must drink the bitterness of gall at the appointed time. You are no exception. Here he was referring to Neanda's fate at the hands of the colonial settlers who hung her a decade and a half later on April 27, 1898, which is a day that Zimbabweans need to honor as well, guys. So he manifested during conflicts, angari mapowers in Todaro, guys. So those are the things that were said by the Chaminuka Mondoro Yedwi. So yeah, ngati grono taranyenda pedza uverenga. Anti mazopanda chitara like boulders such as never been seen before Gigi panda pedzira uverenga pepe. He was basically referring to Njaji yakadzova kwana varungu vanani vana CJ roads pavakazouya, and he was just alluding to the fact of the Cape to Cairo dream ya CJ roads. Those who did history, I'm sure you remember Pategara Chudzoti Rhodes had a dream of painting Cape to Cairo red, like all of it. When he say red as in British territory, that was his dream. So he needed that country and whatnot, and Chaminuka had already addressed those things. They will upgrade this country and they will use those upgradings so that they can expand their territory. So yeah, CJ Rhodes' Cape to Cairo vision was an ambitious British imperial dream. Talk about the American dream. We also have the British imperial dream to connect Africa from north to south with a railway and telegraph line symbolizing a red ribbon of red under British control. I'm sorry, guys, I don't know what to start or but yeah, that's it. If you guys want more on the colonization of Zimbabwe so that we can deep dive into Nyaya roads, say, you can let me know. It's quite an interesting topic, but it might not be for you. So if you wanted in the comments. Okay, I have a fun fact about Chaminuka. So how can we talk about Chaminuka without talking about Mutapa and GZ? We just can't. So this is Mutapa, the Shona Empire, right? Fun fact is, Chaminuka was father to Kutamadzoka. Kutamadzoka was like one of the major players, the Chibaba Baba when it comes to this Mutapa state. You understand? Kutamadzoka. And Tiripana Kutamadzoka Ipapo. So this is the Mutapa state that I found. I also have another picture. This is the other picture of Mutapa and Aitane AI. Of course, you see, it's not as realistic as Pangapepe Panda Vaukratizai. But Kutamadzoka was like Chibaba Baba, the foundation of the Mutapa state. He was like the original founder. I know it's not so shikakunana nyatsimba mtuota chichichi, but like Kutamadzoka is I would say the holy grail of these Shona states. Not only him, he also had a brother, Ainzi Nyasingwa Rushinga. Sorry, guys. Chingwangu Rushingo was the brother Yani Yakutamadzuka, the younger brother, and is the one who carried on Nemutapa, but he established into the great Zimbabwe state. So he's also like Chibaba Baba Rushingo, meaning obviously Chi Ma Shingo, it's to do with the rocks, so Chi Chingwangu Rushingo Ndiakazeta Great Zimbabwe. I also have another AI picture of that, which is obviously unrealistic. Okay, this is Great Zimbabwe as you know it. So Ndioyana Rushinga, and then we also have Chikuta Madzoka was with Mutapa State. There it is, the AI picture of GZ State. So his two sons, Kutamadzoka and Chingwangu Rushinga, they were the pioneers of the states, and Great Zimbabwe State, Nana Mutapa State. We'll talk about it another day. But these people are very important to our history when it comes to Nyedzima State, especially when it comes to like the Shona mediums and channels and what. Those who know that song ends Tovera Mzimudzoka, Tovera Mzimudzoka. Apparently Tovera is like the original Chibaba Baba, like when it comes to the Shona communication with the spirit medium. Tovera being the royal Shona ancestor, of course. So that's why I just Tovera Mzimudzoka, because you are the original ancestor of ours, the original royal ancestor of ours, Tovera. Those who know the song and but Tovera Mzimudzoka Zimbabwe, like on traditional dance, I'm sure you know about it. So I just thought I should just put in this little interesting fact, because you see, we talk about Chaminuka, we include people like Biani Handa, we include even Ana Mutapa, Great Zimbabwe, Anamukwati, Lobengula. You see, like, that's how big this guy is. A lot of figures are included because of him. Of course, we'll talk about the baby, Lobengula, the king of the Ndebele. He was so impressed, like I said before, he was so impressed by Chaminuka and everything he heard about him, to the extent he went from Matebeleland to go to Chitungiza to meet up na Chaminuka to pay his tribute. They bonded, they ended up bonding. They would communicate and what vachibochila vachivistirana vachitaseisese uenda umatebeleland uenda umashonaland vachiwirirana. They bonded to the extent yekuti, give me a second, Lobengula would give Chaminuka mombe, ivory, my clothes, whatever that he would get. One thing about Lobengula you guys need to know was Lobengula was well versed in his relations, Nema Afrikaners, the Boers, compared to the British. You understand? We'll talk about it. His downfall that was prophesied obviously by Chaminuka, but they bonded to the extent Yekuti. In fact, Lobengula was impressed by Chaminuka to the extent Yekuti he would give him young girls, young girls, to the extent Yekuti he gave him a captured wife, Ainz Bavea. I'm not sure if it's Bavea or Bavea, but Kanachwening about Shona it's Bavea, but let's say Bavea because I'm like Bavea, it doesn't make sense. So that's Bavea over there, and this is King Lobengula, and this is Chaminuka. Obviously, this is all AI. So he gave him a captured bride. She was so beautiful, so they say, and the union was so amazing. But, in this life, you give, you take. Lobengula doesn't just give. He was giving Chaminuka all those things, such a beautiful wife, such a beautiful present. Like back in the day, it would be an honor to be given a wife as a present. It just shows good this person rates you like, you understand. So, Lobengula was obviously banking his friendship with Chaminuka using a wife, of course. So this was done so that when his plans that he has, come to action, Chaminuka would have his back. And one thing people wanted back in the 19th century was to have Chaminuka have their back, Murupabata. So he was banking, like I said, Lobengula had close relations with Boers compared to the British. And now let's talk about it. So these Transvaal Afrikaners, these Boers, were direct opponents of the British colonies. And is it colonizers? Imisorikan, Nanieta. So because they were direct opponents, obviously Lobengula was more with the Transvaal Afrikaners. So it now happened in a way, at this time, guys, I want you to know, the Boers and the British were fighting over land. So it got to a point, even like Shona people were now being moved, dispersed. Reserves, that type of thing. People just kept being pushed, and Lobengula, because him and his army its military were very powerful. They also pushed other Shona people as well. But it happened in a way, these white people also wanted this land. So Lobengula struck a deal near the Transvaal Afrikaners. Yazini, if you give us this particular land, will help you, Chichi, because obviously you need a black person. But in the thing is in the connection Baba Baba and Chibaba Baba Chibaba Baba being Chaminuka. So Lobengula was like telling these Afrikaners, as long as you have me and we have backing Chaminuka things, will overpower the British. Now Lobengula, remember, he was a strategist, so he sent word to Chaminuka kuti, you now need to bow your knee to us the Ndebele. Yes, Mama Sita. It's like you now need to bow the knee to us the Ndebele people if you want your Shona people to be safe. Otherwise, you guys will be victims of raidings and killings and rapings and what. And this is not something that Chaminuka took lightly. He was like, WTF, nigga, what you mean? What you mean? Uti niwe na Lobengula. Chaminuka was like, listen, my boy, I'm not going to do this with you because what do you mean? So now, Lobengula was infuriated, kuti, Kanjani, how would he do that? Why would he do that? You know, that type of thing. And it got to a point here, kuti, over the next years, the people of Chitungiza, their food reserves were stolen, like like the Ndebele land, and they were hung. Maka is called like Msoropasi, you know, you see that tree, Maka is called like Msoropasi, and your feet up, that type of thing, just to provoke, you know, fear and whatnot. And this thing did not sit well with Chaminuka, because they're like, listen, mambo imimurara my life in Kidza, but isusu look at us, we are really suffering. You are enjoying your luxury lifestyle, you have a fortunate lifestyle, but isusu, we are suffering. So some people didn't like it, kuti, this pride of yours, and this is something Lobengula was aiming for. Lobengula was chilling, you know, with the Boers, and they are telling him, bro, how far? We thought you said Chaminuka was going to be, you know, like, okay, cool, since you're doing this, But Chaminuka never folded. He was like, no, undisputed. So some people were mad at him. And some were like, no, let's stand our ground. We actually applaud you for that. And it got to a point he was like, let me listen to both sides. You're both making valid points, but I'll also listen to the voice of God. You need to remember he had direct access to communicate with Mwari, Mlimo, Antiga. So eventually realized that my people keep suffering because it got to an extent that my villages anga kupiswa. You're welcome. My villages anga kupiswa because of that, just so Chaminuka can fold. Now it happened in a way Chaminuka kazoti wona kachibaba. Inini, I don't want to keep doing this with you. We need to get to a point where we are in agreement. Lobengula was like, okay, cool. And Chaminuka said, listen, I'll just sacrifice myself. You rather kill me, I rather have you kill me. Anditka. So in chaya koko ku Ndebele land, you will me. But I want you to promise me I'll be the last person that you from my chiefdom. Remember, Chaminuka was a chief, not a king, by the way. So you have to me and not everyone else. Even after you, me, no one else has to die in your hands. And Lobengula was like, coolio. Listen, Lobengula was like, coolio, think about it. This is Chaminuka, the invincible Chaminuka, anachikiwa even with the white settlers. And Lobengula is now being given this guy on a silver platter. Think about how Herod's daughter wanted John the Baptist's head on a platter. That's just how it feels like, the virility that comes. John the Baptist. Now think about it, Kunzi. Lobengula is the one who killed the Chaminuka. At the same time, Lobengula was like, listen, if I do this, you know, Chaminuka, and the fame would just go up the roof. And at the same time, he knew he believed listen, as long as Ndoraya Chaminuka, his people would easily submit to me anyway. So he was like, okay, Diri, I promise I won't kill anybody else. So Chaminuka went with his wife, Bavera and this guy. So I'm not sure. This wife is not talked much about, as we know with history. Women are not really talked about. But it says, Kuti, the wife went na Chaminuka. Chaminuka knew what was going on, but Anzi Bavera didn't know what was going on. So wakaenda ku Shangani River. vaenda kushangani river. The Ndebele warriors came. Vanga vakati one day they came to Chaminuka. They were obviously armed and what, and Chaminuka was just pitched zvake akangochila zvake achitoridza bira yake. And Pafira was like, oh my gosh baby, they're coming, Hona, they're going to kill you, I don't trust this Ndebele people, you know, that type of thing. And she was just in a frenzy, and they tried to, you know, but it wasn't working. Vachikanda mapfumo vachita sei it wasn't working. Vaitomupodza achitozvidzidzira zvake mbira dzake chichi vanhu vachita kupodza munhu akangogara arongoridza mbira vari kutry kuita sei kuuraya Chaminuka, and it's not working. So obviously, you know, they keep trying mabullets, mapfumo chichichi zvese zvikuramba atoramba zvakachiridza zvichitoramba. And you know what, he was like, omana regerayo mana. Before I exit, I need to tell you something about you guys. That's where he prophesied, and he was foretelling them, Kuti, this place of yours, Ndebele land, it's never going to be that fatal. It's going to be that place where there's always drought, loose ends, blah blah blah. And you guys know, I think that's like region 4 and 5 of Zimbabwe, auntie, that Ndebele land, because there used to be like reserve areas and whatnot. And Chaminuka said, okay, mucharamba makadaro, you see how hot it is, the droughts that happen there, and all that stuff that just happens there. He prophesied all that stuff. He foretold those things. He even foretold the downfall of Lobengula, kuti his downfall is going to be mabuniwayo, and it's going to be in a way yakti his country people are going to blame him for the misfortunes. It's going to be in such a way yakti achashorwa, history will never recognize him as a great person. We all know Lobengula panotaurwa nanenga chingoti Lobengula zvinotaurwa like pakapa varungonyika akapiwa sugar, and then it was like you know, that type of joke and whatnot. Like people always joke about him. That's like the honest truth, Murupabata. So those things were foretold, Kuti. This guy is gonna go down in history as one of the white people puppets and whatnot. He said those things before he passed on. I didn't know, Kuti, Blawayo means like land of slaughter, right? Land of slaughter. Let me just check. Yeah, the land of slaughter. He was like, listen, for what you've done in this land of slaughter, hence Blawayo, you guys, this is what's going to happen to Blawayo, this is what's going to happen to Lobengula. And we have seen since a lot of things have happened, droughts have happened, and even Lobengula yandanda tarodara. But once he was done saying all those things, remember, these people are still trying to kill him in Jukuramba. He was like, anyway, child, now that I'm done with these prophecies, let me tell you something. For you guys to speed up this thing you're doing, it's not you who have to kill me. You guys have blood on your hands, and you cannot kill me because you cannot shame the shameless when it comes to you people. Chandinga Dainini, I need a young teenage boy without sin. He's the one who will be successful in killing me. I just want to put a FYI out there and just give you guys a heads up. What he did say did come to pass, because eventually the Ndebele people were decreased to a fraction by the British people when they started moving towards that area, Ndebele land. They killed them, because you need to remember, according to the British people, as long as you are Ndebele, you were affiliated to the Transvaal Afrikaners. So they had to make sure my allies and Afrikaners, I'd say, as much as they can. So these are the prophecies he gave just before he was killed. So eventually they did find a teenage boy, Agauya, and he drove the spear into his flesh. And that was the end of Chaminuka. We don't know where his grave is at. We don't know where the body is at, according to my research. Guys, I just want to say, whatever I'm telling you is the stuff that I read. Anditka, video yakpera, I'll tell you where I got all the stuff. Do not come for me. What you feel like inini and you can always elaborate in the comments, but be nice when you're doing that. Because you have this way, hey, Beyonce, calm down, Antika. So we are just helping each other out. Sure, you read this book if you can find it. I remember reading it, Bandanchiru Primary by Solomon Mswairo. It's called Chaminuka, Prophet of Zimbabwe. If you want to, please make sure you read it. But I was gonna say, Shona people, obviously, like Anane and Nyagaskana, Nakaguvi and Amkwati, they were channeling the spirit of Chaminuka when they were overthrowing the British people, and that's why they successfully managed to overthrow the British people, the Shona people, Murupabata. So, yeah, they even channeled the spirit of Mbuya Nyanda, because remember by the time Yatikazoshko independence, Mbuya Nyanda angavafa, but when she was alive, Pachitwa Jana Chimrenga, when she was still there, they were channeling the spirit of Chaminuka, and people ended up channeling the spirits of Nyanda, Chaminuka, Chichichi when they were fighting the war, and eventually the British people were overthrown out of Zimbabwe. It's believed Kuti when Chaminuka died, he did not die. He became Mondoro. That's just a art Chaminuka that I found on the internet. So he transformed into a Mondoro, a lion. It said Kuti after he died, lions were seen by Chaminuka. My lions were seen, and like I said before, animals were just quiet after his death. And as a Mondoro, as we know, lions are Mondoro. As a Mondoro, they protect land, rain, people, and that's just the things that Chaminuka stood for. So the connection. And as we know, lions are like ancestral and royal ancestral animals when it comes to us as Shona people, because paipashishins mondoro yadro and mondoro dzacho kaita anashumba muripi ndiyo nguva yenye kubreaka way anashumba. And these are the spirits. This just depiction of Chaminuka and Nehanda is spirits as the Mondoro of the Shona people. Lions were heard roaring, and settlers reported being watched after Chaminuka died, and this is why we believe he transformed into a lion as a spirit guide. So this is the history of Zimbabwe with regards to Chaminuka. I hope you guys enjoyed this. I would like to thank you, the person who had me do this, because you do not have a username, you are just user blah 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 blah. I'm afraid I cannot say the name, but that's the person Akawa Mama comments, I think 4 or 5 days ago. So I've been working on this for the past 4 days, guys. All this info, I've been working on it for the past 4 or 5 days. She said, I'm sure it's a she, right? Most probably. She said, Tani, can you please do, something on Chaminuka? I think she was watching Yambi and Yand or something. And she was like, can you do your Chaminuka? And I realized I was always fascinated about Nyani, Chaminuka. And I was like, okay, let me do it. So just like Nyanda is just a spirit, and Chare was the vessel of Nyanda. And just like Chaminuka is a spirit, and PASIPAMIRE TSURO was just a vessel of Chaminuka. I hope you guys learned something and you enjoyed this episode. I enjoyed reading and what. And with that being said, I want to show you guys where I got all this information. I want to tell you actually where I got all this information. I would like to give a shout out to Wikipedia. Of course, Wikipedia did come through. Wikipedia. So I'm just going to write here, Wikipedia. And I would also like to give a shout out to a little article I got from Terence Ranger's article, Yangeri Panapa Internet, Terence Ranger. I want to give a shout out to the info that I got from Chantel Onyango's article as well. And last but not least, I would like to give a shout out to Dr. Tony Monda. So all this information I told you, I got it from Dr. Tony Monda, Chantel Onyango, Wikipedia, and Terence Ranger. That's where I got all this information. So guys, stay safe, be cute, be good, be sweet, be safe. Like I said, I cannot promise to say every day and the cheetah. I need you to know once I start reading and once I'm done reading, I have to look for pictures that match whatever I'll be saying. I have to match pictures of whatever that I'll be saying. So it's quite a process with wamboverenga. Watanga when you type my notes, waverenga my notes match everything with what you're saying, nema pictures. So it's quite a process. And so let's say I might skip a day. It's not gonna be every day like I used to. But I hope you guys are loving this change. I just feel like as humans we need to change, we need to evolve. I'm trying to do my best to give you guys great content. It doesn't stop here, and your support means a lot to me. So please keep subscribing, keep watching adverts, and please give me some gifts as well. You can also gift videos. Not do you guys know that you can gift videos, you can gift me my live. I would definitely appreciate. You can send me my thanks by YouTube as well. Tatenda sent me a thanks. Thank you so much for that to YouTube. So guys, thank you so much. Be good, be sweet, be safe. Bye. Mwah.